You always have you got the person that's, trying to get back into shape. You got like the hot chick on the elliptical that is there every day. And, you could cut steel on her ass. You have all the personalities that go to a gym, right?
Right.
But the mid-afternoon is super confusing because the personalities are all over the place. Like today I'm in there trying to lift weights. There's a fat guy next to me that's rolling on one of those, I don't even know what you call those I think they're just called rollers. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I know what you, yep.
So there's that, and I'm not shaming fat people. Anytime you're getting in the gym, bettering yourself, it's great, okay? But fat guys are fat guys. Just call it like it is. Anyways, so you got the fat guy there rolling on the floor. Like I'm there lifting weights. Then you got the super buff guy next to me that's drinking a gallon of what looks like Windex, so it's all over the place and I can't make heads or tails of it. And the gym this afternoon is a lot like the college basketball season that is coming up right now. I really can't make heads or tails of what is going to happen with this college basketball season, how it's going to actually take place, and how many games are going to get canceled. And it's even hard to make predictions because we just don't know anything right now. We could be in a situation in January where the conference decides that you need to sit out 3 weeks before you play a game. None of those procedures have happened. And backing up just a little bit, the season last year got canceled on March 13th. Okay. That means at the day of this recording, the powers that be at the NCAA had almost 8 months to figure out exactly how college basketball was going to exist, how they were going to get games in. And you would have thought at this point in November that they would have learned something from the college football landscape and it doesn't have to be an ironclad procedural, document. It just has to be, here's how we're going to get games. Here is how we're going to pivot if COVID cases turn up. And then here's how we're going to move forward from that, right? I don't really think I'm asking too much of college basketball to do that. Well, sure enough, here we are. It's mid-November, and we are just now getting schedules out. And as we come to you today, sure enough, the A-10, the day after their media day, released their conference schedules, but we can't even get to that yet because, Drew, there was some big news that broke on Friday night, and needless to say, it was a gut punch to the fan base, wasn't it?
It was the Clayton Kershaw sitting in the dugout by himself after giving up 5 runs in a playoff game. That's how I felt.
Yeah.
When I found out that Dayton was pulling out, I just wanted to sit on my couch with my hands on my knees and just look down at the floor. That's pretty much what I did for 30 minutes when I found out. It's a big gut punch. These are all circumstances that are, out of our control, if you want to say that. But yeah, it's just a bummer. I was really looking forward to getting some quality games coming up here soon. It's right around the corner. And so, yeah, it was a very disappointing start to the weekend last week.
It was. And if you are not in the loop and have no idea what we're talking about, fret not, fair listener. I am going to bring you into the loop. And that's why you listen to this show. I like to think that you listen to us to become informed because this is the most intelligent hour of Dayton basketball talk on the internet. Wouldn't you say, Drew?
Yes.
Okay. So in that same breath, on Friday night, I got word from a few different people around the Dayton community that UD was considering backing out of the tournament that they had previously scheduled to be in South Dakota. If you recall, about a month or two ago, Duke had pulled out of this South Dakota tournament that had been relocated from the Bahamas, and then Dayton conveniently slid their way into the field, seizing an opportunity to play some quality games. And we even talked about how excited we were right here on this show. So earlier in the week, last week, Ohio State had announced that because of the spike in cases in the state of South Dakota, that they were no longer going to be traveling to South Dakota. And the reason given was that they wanted to follow the guidelines. These weren't mandates. They were guidelines from the state of Ohio. And if they were to properly follow all of the guidelines given by the state of Ohio, if they traveled to South Dakota, everybody would have to quarantine 14 days after they got back. Now, you know me, Drew. I'm skeptical of everything and everyone. Every time there's a rule comes out, I say, why? Show me the data. Prove to me why we're doing this. And I still, for the life of me, cannot figure out why these athletes that have the top-notch medical professionals at their fingertips, they get tested every day, why are we waiting 14 days? What are we waiting 14 days for? So you're telling me right now that UD could go play in this tournament in South Dakota. They could come back and have to sit through a 14-day quarantine, even if all of their players test negative. So it's a long way to say, after Ohio State had backed out and they had, kicked the can down the road and said, oh, we can't do it, COVID, threw their hands up in the air. Well, you kind of knew another shoe was going to drop. And sure enough, on Friday night, a shoe did drop. UD, following Ohio State's lead, backed out of the South Dakota tournament themselves. And the way it was told to me by people in the know was that the optics of going to the South Dakota tournament with Ohio State staying home were just too poor. And UD could not run the risk of going to that tournament, having a player, test positive, and then bringing it back to campus, especially, when Ohio State seemingly is overly cautious. So I really do believe, Drew, that Ohio State did this because they could. And I believe that Dayton did this because they had to. Where do you stand on that?
Yeah. So basically what you're getting at is that I can just blame this all on Ohio State. Done. Sold. Yeah. Sign me up. Blame Ohio State. It's their fault. No, but yeah, that's the thing. If the biggest school in your state is playing the same event as you and they pull out, that's, and you go, and then like you said, something happens, heaven forbid, but if something happens, that's just a very bad look for the school. So I don't blame the University of Dayton for pulling out after Ohio State did. They did what they had to do. I'm sure if you asked everyone who made that decision, if at all possible, we could still play in that, they would sign us up and we would be there. But like you said, the optics of it and everything like that just doesn't work out. And it's a shame. It's truly a shame that it happened, but it's the way it is. It's the way 2020 is going. It's the way, we're here now, and we just got to figure it out. And that's what we're going to continue to do.
Too right you are, brother. No need to belabor that point. On the other side of the commercial break, we are going to have some breaking insider information about a possible UD Ohio State game or lack thereof and how that came to be and then blew up just as quickly. Join us. David Jablonski is at the back half of the show, as I mentioned. That's going to be on the other side. You're listening to Talking Out Loud, brought to you by Lee's Chicken right here on 1410 ESPN Radio, Dayton.
Talking Out Loud with Sully on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
Listen to this radio station on the radio.com app. Connect with your favorite radio shows through contests, social media, and podcasts. Create custom alarms with your favorite radio stations, all free with the radio.com app.
Fever is a leading symptom of the coronavirus, so take your temperature twice a day with the Exergen Temporal Scanner. It's quick and easy to use, and its accuracy is backed by more than 80 clinical studies. Have your family start and end their day with the only home thermometer used and recommended by hospitals, doctors, and nurses. Your family can take their temperatures in seconds to know where they stand in the fight against COVID-19. Protect your family from the spread of this deadly disease and stay safe with Exergen.
This weekend, visit JCPenney for TGI Black Friday. Get the same Black Friday prices just earlier on thousands of new deals before they're gone. Score the absolute best savings with this week's extra 30% off coupon. Use it to get select men's St. John's Face sweaters for 60% off. Or shop now to reserve your fine jewelry to get Black Friday prices up to 80% off before the rush. Joy, comfort, peace. JCPenney. Offers valid 11/13 to 11/15. Conditions and exclusions apply. Pick up reserved fine jewelry on or after 11/20. See store or jcp.com for details.
With thousands of locally owned Napa stores across the nation, chances are that wherever you call home, we do too. And that's why you can find us in big cities, small towns, and everywhere in between, doing what we've always done to help keep our local communities moving forward. So whether you stop by a Napa Auto Parts store, Auto Care Center, or visit us at Napa online, you can count on Napa know-how.
Choose your paint colors with confidence and save big money on your next project at Menards. Dutch Boy Paints provide your home's interior surfaces with a beautiful look that stays clean year after year. Right now, all Dutch Boy paints are 11% off. Stop waiting and start saving today at Menards. 11% good until November 14th. Savings are a mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
Roosters would like to thank all of our loyal guests and all the loyal Buckeye fans for your support this year. Because of you, we've been able to stay open and keep our award-winning team employed. Our team members go above and beyond and are dedicated to providing you and your family the safest dining experience possible while still providing a fun, casual atmosphere to relax, laugh, and enjoy our award-winning food. Roosters, the official wing sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
An important message from former Ohio State football coaches Urban Meyer and Jim Tressel about Ohio's fight against COVID-19.
There are moments in life when all the greats are tested,
but they persevere, adapt, and never, ever give up.
Ohio, that's you. You've saved countless lives and slowed the spread.
But we can't let up. We need to stick to our game plan because we know it works.
That way we can return to doing all the things we love and enjoy.
With our families and our friends.
Infection rates and hospitalizations are rising across Ohio, in our big cities and our small towns. Please wear masks in public, especially when you go inside. Practice social distancing and be careful even in small social gatherings. Don't let your guard down. Don't let the virus spread.
Ohio, when we stick together, we always win.
It's up to all of us.
This message is brought to you by the Ohio Department of Health.
At Boot Barn, we believe that the cowboy boot is an American icon. Today's boots are not only rooted in history, but are enhanced with modern technology features for the working cowboy. Ariat boots are built with advanced technology that provides the comfort and support of a high-performance athletic shoe, yet still has the functionality and durability of the iconic cowboy boot. And at Boot Barn, we carry over 250,000 pairs of Ariat boots nationwide. Ariat at Boot Barn.
Starting route. Your destination is 0.1 miles away.
If you drive less than
500 feet, turn left. You have arrived at your destination.
If you drive less than 25 miles a day, you could be paying less every day with pay-per-mile car insurance from Allstate. You get the same reliable coverage and hands-on expertise you'd expect from Allstate, but now at a price that's tailored to the miles you drive.
Call your local Allstate agent and start paying what's right for you. Includes a daily rate. Prices vary based on how you buy. Subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Not applicable in California. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and its affiliates.
Staples helps your business go big with everything you need at amazing prices. From office essentials like paper and ink to health essentials like masks and sanitizer. Save big at Staples.
College football playoffs, Browns, Bengals, Buckeyes, and more. Catch the Keith Fire Show Mondays at noon on 1410 ESPN Radio. Dayton Flyers basketball fans, it's time to wear red and stay loud. Here's Talking Out Loud with Sully on 1410 Wing AM, Dayton's ESPN Radio.
Welcome back. I'm your host, Sully. You're listening to Talking Out Loud, brought to you by Lee's Chicken, right here on ESPN Radio Dayton. Before the break, we were talking about how Ohio State had pulled out of the South Dakota tournament over Thanksgiving, and then UD followed their lead and did the same under the same guidelines from the state of Ohio, the quarantine situation and all that. So after that had happened last Friday, I got myself to thinking, well, this is a perfect opportunity, if there ever was one, for UD and Ohio State to finally play. There's not a lot of home court advantage either way. Both of these programs need to play a game, and both of these programs conveniently now have the same 3 days in November open on their schedule. I mean, that makes perfect sense to me. So then you got to thinking, well, they backed out of this tournament because of COVID. Well, the Ohio guidelines said that if they went to the state of South Dakota, or frankly, if they traveled anywhere outside the state, they have to quarantine 14 days. And the athletic programs on both sides decide, you know what, there's too much risk involved in that. We don't need to to take on that kind of risk to play these games in South Dakota. That's the line we're being fed. Well, how convenient that both of these schools are in Ohio and they don't have to leave to play a game in Ohio. So breaking information brought to light to this radio show. And you know what? Fine. I'll play the breaking news music. Go ahead. Sources close to this radio show, this program, have let us know that there were early talks for the University of Dayton, Ohio State to play a basketball game. Talks did exist. They took place. And it is our understanding, again, through these very reliable, trusted sources, that Ohio State's terms were to play a game in Columbus, a one-off game only this year, no return trip, no game next year. It has been told to us that UD has declined that offer and instead walked away from the negotiating table and decided to go elsewhere with their non-con schedule, which, as you may remember, only has 3 games on it right now to date. So you can take that information with whatever grain of salt you would like. But, you know, just a guy with a microphone reporting the news, that's what I do. Moving right along, we need to talk about some recruiting news. I know we talked about it briefly in the last 2 shows on the podcast because there were some huge commitments to the Dayton Flyers program. But as it goes in recruiting, the day when you sign on the dotted line is, of course, called signing day, and that was Wednesday, November 11th. Dayton locked down officially its best class ever, 2 top 100 recruits, and a 3-star recruit who just happens to be the little brother of Scoochie Smith. His name is Mally Smith. Get used to hearing that name. You're going to hear it a lot. Drew, I am going to put down on the microphone right now here on this day in 2020 that this 2021 class of 3 guys, Caleb Washington, Deron Holmes, and Mally Smith, is going to be better than the class of Scoochie, Kyle, and Kendall that Archie recruited. What say you?
100. Okay, so that's taking into account all the success that they had, and they had a whole heck of a lot of it. They're definitely the most hyped class coming into Dayton ever, and they're probably, you know, objectively speaking, the best class Dayton's had ever. I like the take. That means that Dayton's, you know, we just keep on rising and rising until we reach the sky. But that's a bold proclamation, man. That's an Elite 8 appearance thrown in there, some A-10 titles. Regular season titles. That's a high benchmark, but if they eclipse it, no one will be happier than you and I.
That's what I'm saying. And so that's what I wanted to start off with today is kind of level setting, because I know a lot of listeners don't really follow recruiting, nor should you. Like I said before, following the trials and tribulations of 17-year-olds is not really something that I want to spend my time doing day to day. But you know, it's exciting. You know, we have the best recruiting class we've ever had. These guys, you know, coming in with some hype. Got a younger brother of a Flyer star. You know, all things are pointing upwards. And I had said it on the first episode of the show 2 weeks ago that all of the little things now are starting to come together for Dayton, right? We have the facilities. Fan base has already been in place. Financially in a great spot. Even with COVID, if financially they're always going to be in a great spot. You know, you add in recruiting, you add in player development. I mean, all of these things are just starting to come together, you know, little by little. So I think it's an exciting time to be here and be a Flyers fan. So before we get to the scheduling that came out today, Drew, tell the listeners what you're sipping on, because we decided last show that we were going to stay true to the beverage segment.
Yes, I'm not sipping on soda this week. I'm actually sipping on a Mad Tree Thunder Snow Scottish ale.
Really?
Very good, very good. It's a very heavy beer. Can only drink like 1 or 2 of them. 9% alcohol, but it is very, very good. Very good in the winter. It's a nice beer to drink. You know, there's no snow on the ground right now, but it's a nice beer to open up when there's some snow on the ground, getting around Christmas time. It's a great drink, and I was just feeling it today.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. You know, today I mixed it up as well. Mid-afternoon, I had already had 2 coffees, so I didn't want to go back to that well. And, you know, I want to take the edge off a little bit. So I went for hard seltzer, mid-afternoon hard seltzer.
What seltzer brand are you repping?
Okay, so there's a couple reasons why I'm on the hard seltzer. I'd mentioned number one. Number two was I had a small socially distanced football gathering over the weekend here at the house, mostly in the backyard. And you know how it goes when people come over. They always leave like a bunch of booze, right? And most of it ends up being super random. Like I hate when my friends leave IPAs in my house because they never get drunk. I hate drinking IPAs. Like I just don't do it. So in my fridge today, there was 3 basic hard seltzers, which I learned are brewed right down the street from my home in Chicago, Illinois. So basic hard seltzer, it's with a hint of cranberry. And I got to say, not great, but not bad either. I think if it was right on the shelf next to White Claw and it was $3 cheaper, I'd go for it, to be honest with you. So I don't know. Is that a glowing review? I think it's a pretty average review, right?
Well, I mean, price point, man. It's all about price point.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I brought that up. I'm like, if you're looking at a 12-pack of White Claw, that's what, like $16 now? And then you give me a 12-pack of these for $12, I'll go with it.
Yeah, sign me up for that too.
The hell with it. Yeah. So I don't know what the price was. Like I said, they got left in my fridge. But anyway, I'm sipping on a basic hard seltzer. So if you see them around or you see them that not in the Chicago area, let me know because I want to see kind of what their reach is. Drew, who brought us the beverage segment tonight?
Beverage segment was brought to you by George at Mobile Used Car Inspections.
Oh, okay. Tell me more.
Do you need an automotive expert you can trust, Sully?
I do believe I do.
Well, then George at Mobile Used Car Inspections is your man. He is an ASE certified technician who specializes in pre-purchase inspections when you are buying a used vehicle and performs certified and IRS qualified automotive appraisals for all insurance and legal purposes. And he's been doing it since before BG introduced us to the 4-man weave.
Oh, so he's been doing it for a while then. Okay.
A while. He's been around the block.
Okay.
So if you have any automotive questions, call George. He's always happy to provide free advice to Flyer fans anytime. Email him at info@mobileinspections.com or simply call 937-671-0768. Again, that's 937-671-0768.
Sounds like a trustworthy guy. Thanks for bringing us a beverage segment today, George. Moving right along in the program tonight, we had mentioned that I was on bated breath waiting for a schedule. The one thing I really, truly love doing every season, it's usually around August or September, is putting a post up on our site, blackburnreview.com, that breaks down the non-con schedule. And, I'm always a little irreverent with it. I'm like, I think this team sucks. I think Dayton's going to beat this team by 30. This team's going to come in and get a hot meal and we'll send them on the road. I'm fairly irreverent, but I'm always very honest about my non-con predictions and what's going to happen. Last year I was a little bit off, I believe, because I said that UD was going to lose 3 games and they lost 2. But again, all the predictions were off this year. Anyways, on Wednesday, Veterans Day, November 11th, the A10 Conference released their new schedule for the year, only with conference games. So like we said at the top of the show, we're not quite at the point yet where we know the entire UD schedule, but we at least know what's going on in the non-conference. Drew, it was my understanding that we were waiting so long for this conference schedule because they wanted to accommodate a reduced travel type of situation, right? They said that we're going to try and keep travel as minimal as we can. And to do that, the schedule needs to be reworked. Unfortunately, that's not what happened at all. And in the year 2020, we're kind of living in this situation right now where we're going to follow COVID until the money tells us not to, or like actual dollars are at stake. I mean, you saw it with college football. You saw it with the NBA. It was like, yeah, we're locked down because of COVID, but we got to get back to work and like make money off of people. The A10 is frankly no different. And I'll tell you exactly why. The conference released their schedules today, like I had mentioned, and it basically looks exactly like it would in any other year. Bernadette McGlade, the commissioner of the A10, was asked about the schedule today, and they had thrown out the A10 conference a lot of different scenarios. Do we do a pod in Philly over the weekend? Do we go to DC for a couple of days, have 4 teams play, everybody go home, do it again next weekend? And so apparently all options were on the table. The A10 considered all of them and then did none of them. So the commissioner was asked today, and her response was, playing back-to-back at the same site from our national perspective didn't seem like an optimal decision. In addition, Commissioner McGlade said the league wanted to fulfill its contractual obligations with its national media partners. You can see where this is going. ESPN, CBS Sports Network, and NBC Sports Network. So it built a schedule as similar as possible to past schedules. The A-10 didn't want rivals, such as Dayton and St. Louis in the Arch Barron Cup, to play games on back-to-back nights. They wanted to space those games a month apart. So if you're reading between the lines, that basically says we wanted to follow COVID restrictions and reduce travel, but we really like making money off of our TV deals more. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. And the only thing about the schedule, and we talked about how they wanted to reduce travel, quote unquote, but looking at Dayton's schedule, and it's been kind of similar across some of the other schedules I've looked at, but Dayton opens on the road, and then they play 2 at home, 2 on the road, 2 at home, 2 on the road, and then they alternate home and road for the remainder of the season. And a lot of the A-10 schedules they're not set up exactly like Dayton, but they're similar where you're either playing 2 home games in a week or playing 2 road games in a week. That is about the only kind of lens that I can see through, like trying to make travel as condensed as possible. But, like you said, for the week of Thursday, January 5th, you go to Fordham in New York. And then the following, that coming Saturday, you go to North Carolina. So are you traveling Ohio to New York to Ohio to Carolina, or are you just doing it in one fell swoop? Would be one of the questions I would ask if I had the opportunity to. So that's about the only kind of thing I'm seeing with the schedule and how they tried to make it. But yeah, I'm with you here. It doesn't look that much different.
No, it doesn't look different at all. And the way that they ignored the reduced travel was a little alarming to me, because there were like really easy things that you could have done. And let me give you an example, listeners. UD plays at UMass this year, and they play at Rhode Island this year. Okay. UD also plays at VCU this year and at Davidson this year. Okay. VCU and Davidson, I can hear the argument that they're a few hours away from each other, so they're not all that close. Okay. UMass and Rhode Island, I will not hear that argument, because while they are about 2 hours away from each other, they're in the same region and no one else is up there, right? URI and UMass are all by themselves. UD travels to UMass on Tuesday, February 9th. They come home to play St. Joe's that weekend, and then they go back to Rhode Island on Tuesday, the 16th. Tell me how that makes any sense. We didn't reduce travel. They have to go to campus, play a game, go back out to the same place that they were. I mean, all of this just seems so nonsensical to me. And basically the reason that the A-10 just gave for this schedule was, well, yeah, COVID sucks, but we got to keep making money. And so it leads me to this age-old question we just keep going back to. It's like, so we're only going to take this seriously when there isn't money at stake? I'm really having a hard time wrapping my head around how we've just spent 8 months preparing for this. There's been lockdowns, there's been mask mandates. We're taking this very seriously. And then the A-10 basically said, we got to make some TV money. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, it's, and there's a lot of truth into what you just said, and, just following these rules and all that. But like you said, when the ass is on the line, it's like, well, just go back to what you know, I guess. And, it's a very hard topic to talk about because it's in such flux all the time. Like, this schedule is in flux right now. Like, this could look completely different. We don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I would say the only certainty we do have is that games will be canceled, one way or another. I've already taken the gut punch because I really was looking forward to the South Dakota tournament over Thanksgiving. Now we don't have any of that. So we only have down to go from here, frankly. But with that in mind, now that we do have a schedule, we got to put our predictions out there just for the sake of discussion today. And I said it on Twitter this past week at Sully, my good name. You can follow me, or you can follow Drew at Drew B. That's probably bad. It's DREW.
Drew BW.
Yeah, yep. Drew BW. Yeah, I got you. Sorry. So I want to make sure everybody knew your Twitter handle as well. I think that's important. Yes. Yeah. But as I look through the schedule, I said Dayton was a top 3 team in the league on our last couple of previews. And I still remain, pretty steadfast in that. My prediction is the Flyers win the A-10 this year. They go 15-3 and they split it with SLU. They split the home and home. They split the home and home. and they are co-champions with SLU. I really do believe that's what's going to happen. Then Richmond's going to be right behind them. And then I think there's a pretty wide gap. But as I said, I think one of Bonaventure, Rhode Island, maybe UMass, VCU, Duquesne, Davidson, like one of those teams might emerge out of the muck. But this really is kind of a 3-team race. And I see Dayton and taking care of their business, frankly, at 15-3. I think that the program has elevated itself to such a level that they are a comfortable step ahead of the A-10. So when it comes down to me saying, are they going to win 11 games? Are they going to win 12 games? I can generally give them another 3-game bump because I just feel like the program is operating at a higher level than the rest right now, save Richmond and St. Louis, who are bringing back very, very good teams. So my predictions out there in the open, Drew. What say you?
I like your 15-3 mark. Looking at the schedule, Dayton's, if they play how I think they're going to play and how they're capable of, they're not going to be an underdog until Tuesday, January 28th at St. Louis, which is our 8th Atlantic 10 game. I say that to say this: Dayton is going to at least start the conference season at 7-0. We're going to win the first 7. I think going away in a lot of them.
Wholeheartedly believe that, yeah.
I think we could win 6 of those by double digits. In fact, I think we could win all 7 because I don't think VCU is any good.
All right, list them off for the listeners. What do we got? First 7 games. You're saying lock.
So your first 7 games, you're at G-Dub. You win that. You're home for LaSalle and Mason. Those should be dump truckings. You go to Fordham. You play at Davidson. That one could be tricky, but I still think Dayton should win that game and win it kind of handily. You come home for Duquesne, home for George Washington again, then you go to the cafeteria to play VCU, and then you're at St. Louis for Arch Baron 1, and that will be the game. Dayton could very easily be favored in that game too, depending on how things go, but I think just looking at it now, Dayton's probably a slight underdog in that game. And then you go Rhode Island, Duquesne, Richmond. You're looking at potentially 10-1 going into that first Richmond game.
Yeah.
Maybe even 11-0.
We have David Jablonski joining us later in the program, but I did want to, you mentioned Duquesne, who I think is the most interesting team going into A-10 play this year because I've said they've been a year away for 2 years. And now they're finally not a year away, right? Like they're finally bringing back all the pieces that they need. Dan Brought's been under the helm for 4 years. He's got the program humming. They have the they have the support from the athletic department, from the school. They have the funding. They have a new arena. Everything's in place now, right? And Keith Dambrot had the best quote from Media Day that I've heard yet, because I don't really like to follow Media Day that much. That's why Jablo gets paid the big bucks. He goes and follows Media Day. But Keith Dambrot, coach of Duquesne, was quoted today by saying, "We put ourselves in the position to be a contender," which I think is true. "And now we have to mature emotionally and become a championship quality team. It's as simple as that." Man, I got to tell you, when the Dayton coach search was open, I had said that I would have loved Keith Dambrot for the job. Obviously, we lucked out, got our alum, got our guy, took us to where we are today. Shout out AG. But man, that is such a great quote from Dambrot because it's spot on. They have put themselves in a position to be a contender over the last couple of years, and now they have to basically, what he's saying is they have to act like a championship team. Because when you're a program like Duquesne, you go into games at Dayton, you go into games at VCU, you go into games like at St. Louis. And frankly, you don't expect to win those games as a Duquesne program. You expect to go and be competitive. And if you win, you stole that one. But think about Dayton now as a program at the top of the A-10. You expect to win every game. And that's because the team last year put a championship mentality back into the program, just like Kyle and Scoochie, Kendall, Cook, that class. That's what they did for Dayton, right? They said, we're no longer going to be a team that wins some, lose some in the A-10. We're going to dominate the conference year in, year out. And then again, it came to fruition last year. So I thought that was the perfect quote for Duquesne, because to be a championship type of team in the A-10, you have to have the championship mentality. You have to mature emotionally. You have to have your head on straight, because you're going to get punched in the mouth a lot in this conference. I had that conversation with Brooks Hall last week. He said the same thing, is if you take one night off in the A-10 or you think you're going to sleepwalk through a game, somebody can sneak up on you. I mean, not Fordham, but most of the conference can sneak up on you. But I just thought that was good wisdom from Dambrot. Drew.
Yeah, I've been a big Keith Dambrot fan ever since he coached in the MAC somewhere. Was it Akron? I think it was Akron.
Yeah, he's an Akron guy. Yeah.
I liked him at Akron a lot. And when I saw that, I'm with you there. When the opening was there, I would have been thrilled if we got Keith Dambrot. And I thought Duquesne landing him was a big time hire by them. And you're right. That quote, he basically just told his team in a very encouraging way, like, it's put up or shut up time, guys. I've been here. They've built the foundation. Now it's time to start adding the windows, painting the house, things like that. It's time to start winning if you're a Duquesne program. And I think they will. I think Dambrot's going to get the most out of them this year, and I think they're going to have a very, very successful season for their standards.
Perfectly long-winded way of telling all of our Flyers fans, don't sleep on Duquesne. We talked about Richmond being good, talk about SLU giving Dayton fits, but the Dukes are in prime position to make a run. If they don't, it will surprise no one, but don't sleep on them. On the other side of the break, going to be joined by David Jablonski from the Dayton Daily News to close out the show. I'm Sully. You're listening to the Talking Out Loud Hour presented by Lee's Chicken right here on 1410 ESPN Radio, Dayton.
Talking Out Loud with Sully on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
Hi, Joey Beckett here at Buckeye Ford in Sydney, home of the Works Package and the Double Take Tire Specials. Call today for your appointment, 937-419-8473 or 1-800-700-0050. Buckeye Ford in Sydney, exit 92 off of I-75. We'll see you soon.
Get holiday savings now at the Home Depot on select GE appliances, washers, and dryers in either white or diamond gray, just $5.98 each. You get a high-efficiency top-load washer and dryer, plus a 2-year limited parts and labor warranty. Order online. You'll even get free delivery. Holiday appliance shopping. Improve. Save on select GE appliances now at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Continental U.S. only. While supplies last. Valid through December 2nd. Free delivery on orders $396 or more.
It's been quite the year. That's why we're starting the holiday joy earlier than ever at Ulta Beauty. Early Black Friday deals drop every Friday and Saturday all month long. And we've got new and exclusive products from brands like Too Faced, Morphe, Tula, and more. Plus, we've made shopping the way you want easy too. So visit us in-store or try curbside pickup. Get ready to say hello holidays and see the joy all season long. Ulta Beauty. The possibilities are beautiful.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring for brand new home daily dedicated lanes. Earn up to $1,620 per week. A $2,000 sign-on bonus, medical, dental, vision, company paid life insurance. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com.
It's auction time again in North Lima, Ohio with home improvement products and building materials, and it's all online, ending this Tuesday at 12 noon. Go to pbauctions.com and register to bid on name brand home improvement products online. Kitchens, flooring, Anderson windows and doors, decking, unclaimed freight, and more, all sold online at pbauctions.com. Auction ends this Tuesday at noon, so we'll see you online at the auction.
Javier's Auto Body is colliding with a shortage of licensed techs.
That 2017 is waiting on a clear coat, that 09 needs its left rear sanded, pounded, and painted, and the guy over there is waiting on an estimate.
It's time to hire.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. The moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database. Indeed delivers 2.5 times more hires than the other branded job sites combined, according to Breezy HR 2019. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get a $75 credit for your first job post. Terms and conditions apply.
Staples helps your business go big with everything you need at amazing prices. From office essentials like paper and ink to health essentials like masks and sanitizer. Save big at Staples.
Well, Jason, I've got to tell you, you're pretty much everything this company is looking for in an entry-level candidate.
Great.
Your resume isn't quite what we're used to, but you've got a fantastic work ethic.
Thank you.
And I'm impressed by how you carry yourself.
So, should we talk about the job?
What? The job? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I have no way of recruiting or even meeting you. This interview didn't happen.
It may sound ridiculous, and that's because it kind of is. There's a huge pool of talent your company is missing out on. Meet the grads of life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
Man, we really could have used him.
Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
On Twitter, make sure to give us a follow. Search 1410 Kinner for Justin Kinner on Twitter. That's 1410 KINNER. And ESPN Dayton for the station Twitter handle. Dayton Flyers basketball fans, it's time to wear red and stay loud. Here's Talking Out Loud with Sully on 1410 Wing AM, Dayton's ESPN Radio.
Well, welcome back to the Talking Out Loud Hour presented by Lee's Chicken. I'm your host, Sully, and thanks for joining us to close out the hour of the most intelligent Dayton Flyers basketball conversation on the radio. Close out the show tonight, brought on David Jablonski from the Dayton Daily News, everybody's favorite blogger covering Ohio State football, Dayton Flyers basketball, and even high school football. Jablo, great to have you on the show tonight, and I wanted to start by saying that I got a good laugh out of your content Friday night because the proverbial poop was hitting the fan. Dayton was pulling out of the South Dakota tournament, and you were covering a high school football game. So you fired off a tweet up, Dayton's pulling out of the tournament, and then not 5 seconds later, St. Xavier picks up the first down, 4th and inches, and they fumble, and we're back in action. It was seamless. It was one of your best moments ever. You were so locked in as a journalist.
Yeah, well, it was a really big game, state semifinals, so I couldn't ignore the action on the field because if you step away for a second, you're going to miss a huge play, which would have happened. But, hey, that's all easy compared to watching a toddler at home most of my day, which is the hardest job I've got. So multitasking basketball, football at the same time, no big deal. But yeah, I was able to tweet out that news. I think Jeff Goodman reported it first. And I texted Neil Sullivan. I said, I don't have time to do a phone interview, but I can text you a couple questions. And he was nice enough to respond. So we were able to get a quick story up with the help of our other sports writer, Marcus Hartman. But yeah, not surprising about that news. I wasn't going to South Dakota anyway. We just have limited travel throughout the company. So, it would have been nice for the Flyers to play some good games, but hopefully they can find somebody to play here in 2 weeks from today. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, we talked about it on the front of the show. I woke up this morning saying to myself, man, I really want to put out Flyers content. And then I thought, I have nothing to put out right now. Nothing's happened in the last 2 weeks. And sure enough, about an hour later, the A10 schedule came out. And on Friday, there was Dayton backing out of the tournament. So things are starting to move. I wouldn't say they're moving in the right direction, but things are starting to move towards a season. On the front part of the show, we had mentioned that UD kind of backed out of the South Dakota tournament because they felt like they had to. Have you gotten any indication from the program, like where they think they're going to go from here, and like what's the latest from inside the school about the non-con scheduling here?
No, I have no idea. I mean, I just asked Neil, is he confident they can find replacements for those games? And he said, well, confidence is a fleeting word or something like that. But they would do their best over the next couple of days. So I'm sure the wheels are in motion. Maybe they already have some games set up. They're just not ready to announce them. But, there's a lot of teams in the same situation. I think about 2/3 of the country has yet to announce a non-conference schedule. So there's a lot of misery loves company, and if everybody's miserable because they don't have a schedule, then they've got lots of company.
You're right. I think the D1 docket, if you want to see non-con schedules be released in real time on Twitter, follow at D1 docket. They do a great job. Puts out a spreadsheet every year of all the teams' non-conference games. And
you look for prize-winning Twitter account right there. That is very useful stuff for us, all of us.
I know it's useful stuff for guys like you because you don't have to do the work of being like, did someone release the Dayton Flyers schedule? All you got to do is follow them and let you know.
Well, sometimes you can pick up opponents Dayton is playing who have already released their non-conference schedule, even if Dayton hasn't. So I've been looking for that. And there are about 100 teams out there, and Dayton's not on any of them.
Yep.
Except
Ole Miss.
except Ole Miss, right?
Yep.
So,
Ole Miss, Mississippi State, where they put like a couple of games on their websites. But you had the privilege to talk to Anthony Grant today, but it was based on recruiting. We mentioned top of the show that UD has 3 new recruits coming in. I boldly proclaimed they were going to be the best class that we have seen in the last 10 years, beating out Scoochie and Kendall and Kyle's class. But what did AG have to tell you about recruiting today?
Well, he's very excited about the class. He really praised his staff for the teamwork. Ricardo Greer, Anthony Solomon, Darren Hertz, some of them are lead guys, but they're all on each of the recruits, and some of them are the point guys on each of those guys. But everybody involved in the recruiting of all the guys. And it was a challenging year because, Malachi had not been on campus since 2017 when Scoochie was a senior.
Yeah, and he was like, 13?
Yeah, he barely remembers it. And Grant,
no beers in the ghetto.
Brief meeting with him then, but, I had no idea he'd be recruiting him a couple years down the line, or maybe he thought he did. But he didn't get to go and visit UD as a recruit. Neither did Holmes, who's from Phoenix and now plays in Georgia. Caleb Washington did come to campus in October, but it wasn't able to meet with the coaches because of NCAA, the new recruiting rules during this pandemic. But he did meet with Ibby and Rodney, Ibby Watson and Rodney Chapman outside the Kernan Center, according to one of his coaches. So he got more than some. So, there are advantages and disadvantages probably to that. I mean, none of the other schools got these guys on campus either. So,
well, I like to think so. Like, there's nothing that I love right now than thinking about like exceptions to COVID rules. And we had mentioned earlier that Ohio State backed out of South Dakota, and if it was up to UD, they probably wouldn't. They probably would play it because they need those games, right? And so now I'm like a much more nitpicky, minuscule light. The listeners might not know, but like Jablo said, you can't meet with recruits right now. It's an NCAA rule. But for a while there, nothing was stopping recruits from coming to campus. So I just imagine AG setting up at Beaujon Field and just talking to them from like one goal to the other, just yelling at recruits because you can't meet with them. But nothing says that you can't happen to be in the same place as them while they're on campus. So
I don't know exactly how the rules work. They're just not allowed to pay for them to come to campus. So he had to pay for his own way, and he was coming from Georgia, Atlanta, so it wasn't too bad of a drive.
Yeah,
that made it more possible.
Yeah, I just like I said, I like to picture he's sitting at one goal in Beaujon Field and Caleb Washington's at the other, and they're having a conversation on two ends of a soccer field. Like that's what I want to picture recruiting was like in the off season.
Yeah, well, the NCAA came down hard on UMass tennis, right, a couple of weeks ago. So I don't think AG wants to taunt them. He's not Sean Miller. He's not going to get away with everything at this point. Will Wade, whoever else you want to name in that category.
So with all that in mind, COVID rules in 2020 and such, from your perspective, what are the procedures, or what can you expect as a media member that covers a team? I mean, you sit on the baseline of every game, and I know there's, they have like kind of a framework for how they think it's going to work, have maybe a couple hundred people in the arena, but have you gotten any indication from UD or otherwise about how the season's going to go for you personally in the media?
Nothing official from UD. It was talked about a little bit on the A10 conference call with Drew Dickerson, the head PR guy for the A10. And, he mentioned what we already know. There's going to be nothing but Zoom interviews all season. I would expect that even throughout the NCAA tournament, because I don't think this pandemic's going away before then.
Nope.
As far as sitting on the court, I don't think I'll be doing that at all this year. I'll be up in the stands probably, and there should be plenty of room in the stands because most of the seats will be empty. Yeah. I've been lucky. I was at the Cincinnati Reds opening day in the stands shooting photos. I was at Ohio State's first game in the stands shooting photos. Probably the only person at both of those games. So that's an answer to a Jeopardy question 20 years from now. So I was lucky, but I was in the arena, and I have a big lens, so I can shoot from afar. So I assume it'll be similar for Dayton games. I don't know if I'll be going to any road games this year. Who knows what our company policy will be about that. Hopefully at least the A10 tournament and the postseason if Dayton makes the NCAA tournament. But who knows? It's still, everything is up in the air, including the schedule still, but we're used to that. It's 2020.
We are very used to that. Yeah. Before we get to the A10 commissioner media interview today, if you hadn't heard, part of the media day schedule release for the A10 was that the commissioner went on a Zoom call and kind of made some proclamations how things were going to go and whatnot. But talking to David Jablonski here at Dayton Daily News, if you're just joining us here on Talking Out Loud, but covering these sports, you alluded to it a little bit, covering baseball, covering college football, now it's going to be college basketball. What's the single weirdest part about covering these events in the pandemic year?
Well, I guess just having no fans, no real atmosphere, the crowd noise, the fake crowd noise was weird at the beginning. I think we're all used to that now. And we're used to the empty seats too, but it's certainly weird, especially at the first Reds game, knowing what that is usually like and then seeing the differences. But we're all used to it by now. I mean, we're just glad the games are mostly going on. Ohio State's game against Maryland just got canceled. I know Alabama's off this weekend.
Yep.
It's crazy. I mean, I vote. This is the first year I've been voting in the AP football poll, and I also got a basketball vote. And, for a month there, I wasn't voting for anybody in the Big Ten because they weren't playing games.
Yeah.
There were only like 11 guys doing that. But I was like, this is silly. I'm not going to vote for them for a whole month if they're not playing. So it's been a challenge. But like I said, 2020. That's what we're dealing with.
Yeah, how did the AP vote came about? So I think they have like 30 people that vote in the AP poll, and some people come out, some people go in. There's a shuffling, and what you just kind of get an email from the AP, right? That says, "Do you want to do this?" Is that what?
Yeah. There are about 60 people in each poll. My kid's crying in the background. Chase, what's wrong, buddy?
It's podcast, baby. That's podcast.
Yeah. Hey, Chase, come here. Just Mitch Stacy from the AP in Columbus asked me. He's an OU grad. We talked a lot, and he just asked me if I'd do it. And I think they like all the states to be represented in different angles. They don't always choose like the number one beat guys because they don't want people to be biased. They don't want to be homers. Not that the beat guys are all homers, but I cover Ohio State, but I'm not there every day. So
you're telling me I'm not going to get an AP vote for Dayton?
After your takedown of John Feinstein on Twitter the other day, no, I'm just glad I voted for Houston after seeing that. Man, I didn't even know Houston had that many fans.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Yeah, if you don't know what Jabba was talking about, there was a writer that gets to vote in the AP poll who was waxing poetic about how mean the fans were, and they hurt his feelings, and he's done voting in the AP because Houston fans are so mean. It's like, oh my God, can you just go cry somewhere else, man? Like, nobody has time for this.
No, it is annoying when they come after you like that, but I would not have reacted that way. But then I haven't been doing it that long, and I wouldn't get the same reaction as Feinstein, who's a little bit more high profile than me. I've had Auburn fans come after me, Alabama, but not in that kind of the droves that I think that they came after Feinstein.
Yeah, well,
they really went after him.
We're going to have to do a segment on the podcast coming up every week now where we say, what was the tweet of the week, like fans spewing vitriol at you? I think we're going to have to do
unfortunately, it hasn't been as bad as I thought. I was hoping to get even more hate mail, especially when I wasn't voting for Ohio State for a month, but it's not been that bad. And not a single Dayton fan came after me for not giving them a top 25 vote. So
that's where we're at. I like to think that I level set the fan base a little bit, at least on Twitter, to say like, hey, the team's got to earn their respect a little bit. Ken Pomrankins came out, had us top 50, but not top 25. We just got to earn our way onto that. So it's fine. It's not a big deal. And if somebody hasn't told you to die on Twitter, then like you haven't really lived. It really does heighten the experience for you a little bit.
Yeah. It's at some point, it does tell you that the polls do mean something, even if they don't really mean anything. They do mean something if they incite that kind of reaction. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they mean something to somebody somewhere.
Yes.
Wrap it up with David Jablonski from Dayton Daily News. What can we take from the commissioner's call today? I really applaud her effort all the time. She answers in a very clear, concise manner. Even if you don't agree with her, she says, here's why we made the decisions we did. Earlier in the show, we talked about how they wanted to reduce travel, and then they ended up not doing that. But did you have a takeaway from the commissioner's call today that kind of stood out to you?
I think they just looked at every single possibility and in the end decided to pretty much do it the same way they've always done it because they want to preserve the relationships with the TV networks who, they want to be in the best position possible with ESPN and NBC, CBS Sports Network. And so, playing back games on back-to-back days like the Horizon League, maybe wouldn't have put them in the best position. So in the end, you're basically looking at a schedule that's very similar with a little bit of flexibility built in with some open dates here and there for postponements if that happens, which they expect to happen. So, she mentioned they're prepared for all sorts of possibilities, like taking teams to pods or changing the sites of games, and all that could come into play too. But we'll see. Pandemic's just getting worse, and it's a lot worse right now than it was when they canceled the NCAA tournament. So, at the very least, maybe they should just bring back the 2020 NCAA tournament. I bet we could get some Dayton fans on board with that.
Yeah. Is that the solution we're all headed towards now? It's like, you know what? Cancel the season. Let's go back to where we were.
Cancel this season. Let's go back to last season to start there. That was Bob Huggins' idea back in the spring. He just wanted to start where we ended up, which I don't know if Obi's agents would let that happen. But
I was going to say, we're going to have to halt the draft for another month and a half.
Yeah, I'm sure Charlotte would let Jerry Matos come back for a couple games.
I don't know how CAA would let Obi out of his contractual obligations. Like, I like a scenario where Obi gets drafted by like the Cavs or the Bulls, and then he has to fly back to Dayton to like practice with the team and then to get ready for the NBA season. Yeah, I like that.
No, it's probably not going to happen, but one can dream.
All possibilities on the table. Jablo, we can expect the same hard-hitting coverage from you, pandemic or not, headed into the season, right?
I'll do my best. If I'm not there, it's not going to be the same. You won't get video and photos like usual. But I assume I'll probably at least be at the home games. But I just don't know about the away games. We'll
see.
It'll depend on the access too. If it's all by Zoom, which it will be, they may just say, "Hey, do it at home."
Yep. And that is certainly what we are becoming accustomed to in the year 2020. Jablo, as always, it's great to catch up with you, man. Thanks for rounding out the show with us tonight and giving us your insights.
No problem. Anytime.
So that'll do it for our show this evening. Thanks for sticking around all the way to the bitter end of the hour. We're going to be coming back to you with a new episode next week right here. Same time, same place, 6 o'clock, ESPN Radio. And if you'd like the longer form conversations, maybe you want to hear more my conversation with Jablo, maybe you'd like to hear more of my player interviews in the long form, they are all at Talking Out Loud. All you got to do is search Talking Out Loud, LOWD, wherever you get your podcasts, and they will be there for your listening enjoyment. For now, on behalf of Jablo and Drew, I am Sully. You are listening to the Talking Out Loud Hour, presented by Lee's Chicken, right here on ESPN 1410 Radio in Dayton. Let's do it again next week. Just abide by the 2 rules. You wear red, be loud, and we'll see you then.
Talking Out Loud with Sully on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
Get holiday savings now at the Home Depot on select GE appliances, washers, and dryers in either white or diamond gray, just $5.98 each. You get a high-efficiency top-load washer and dryer, plus a 2-year limited parts and labor warranty. Order online. You'll even get free delivery. Holiday appliance shopping. Improve. Save on select GE appliances now at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Continental U.S. only. While supplies last. Valid through December 2nd. Free delivery on orders $396 or more.
It's been quite the year. That's why we're starting the holiday joy earlier than ever at Ulta Beauty. Early Black Friday deals drop every Friday and Saturday all month long. And we've got new and exclusive products from brands like Too Faced, Morphe, Tula, and more. Plus, we've made shopping the way you want easy too. So visit us in-store or try curbside pickup. Get ready to say hello holidays and see the joy all season long. Ulta Beauty. The possibilities are beautiful.
Don't miss Lowe's Provember event now through November 25th. They have deals on brands like DeWalt, Spyder, and Metabo HPT, plus events you won't want to miss. Lowe's, the new home for pros.
Well, Jason, I've got to tell you, you're pretty much everything this company is looking for in an entry-level candidate.
Great.
Your resume isn't quite what we're used to, but you've got a fantastic work ethic.
Thank you.
And I'm impressed by how you carry yourself.
So, should we talk about the job?
What? The job? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I have no way of recruiting or even meeting you. This interview didn't happen.
It may sound ridiculous, and that's because it kind of is. There's a huge pool of talent your company is missing out on. Meet the grads of life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
Man, we really could have used him.
Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
You wanted to see me?
Yes, please, have a seat. So here's the thing. When this company brought you on, we took a chance on you. You didn't have that 4-year college degree we typically look for.
Right.
But we gave you a shot anyway. And since then, you've worked incredibly hard and given it your all.
Thanks.
You've been an important asset to the team, but I don't think you can be an intern here anymore.